Good evening and welcome to tonight's Bushland Falcon Media Coaches Show. We're going to start off a little different tonight because with it being a holiday and the kids not being in school, we actually sat down with Coach Reynolds ahead of time, right after practice today. So you're going to get him and just the atmosphere of the barn. And it was cool. You know, one of the quotes I saw Coach Reeser, who is currently at the intermediate school, but he'll always be Coach Reeser to me because he's one of my junior high football coaches. He quoted on Facebook today one of his old coaches that said, on Labor Day, we are going to labor. And Coach Reynolds actually said this, used the same quote from one of his older coaches. And I'll tell you, our student athletes were putting in the work today. You'll see probably some of them in the background, football practice from 10 to 12. There was volleyball going on when we were setting up for the interview. Actually, the girls were in the barn putting in work. And so it'll look a little different, but you're going to get a full Coach Reynolds interview here in just a second. But I find it very fitting that I sit here at Mitch's Barbecue on a Monday night knowing that coming off of what, let's be honest, was a hard loss on Friday night, going up to Canadian, facing a very, very stout Canadian Wildcat team. That team is number one in 3A Division II for a reason. They lost one game short of state to Gunter last year, and if they didn't have a fire lit before, I can promise you they do now. And we saw firsthand how talented that squad is, and obviously didn't get the result we were looking for, but saw a lot of things that went good. And we saw some things that went wrong, but are maybe not in our favor or maybe what we expected or wanted to see. And it feels fitting that on a Monday we get some, I think Mondays are built for overreactions in football world, right? We all sit there, and I know many of you are being Cowboy fans. You're going to, next week when NFL kicks off, you're going to Monday morning quarterback around the office talking to your buddies. Maybe it's not the Cowboys, but it's your favorite team. We do the same thing in college football. Being a Longhorn fan, knowing that next weekend we face Alabama, we're going to have plenty to talk about coming out of it. I know you Tech fans, you had a lot to think about coming out of that Wyoming game. But before we jump in with Coach Reynolds, I want to give you a couple stats, and it's really for both sides of the aisle because, coming home from Canadian after 55 points hung on us, and just really, as you'll hear Coach Reynolds say, it was really just the mirror image just flipped from last year's Bushland and Canadian game. Last year we jumped out early, built a big lead, and we held on and kind of pulled away at the end. They made it a ball game, and one of the things you can really hang your hat on as a Falcon fan is how our Falcons made that a game, because we spotted them 35 points, and yet still in the fourth quarter, we end up only being down 10 with an opportunity to get a stop and be in the game. And so there was a lot to like, but let me give you two stats. So we've given up 96 points in two games. Last year's team with Coach Mayfield as defensive coordinator, they actually only, in the 9 regular season games that Coach Mayfield coached, we only gave up 86 points. Now, one of the things that's unique about high school is you're always turning over. The people, this year we're turning over the staff. And when you first think about it, there's a tendency to want to overreact and think, man, it's not working and our defense isn't there and we're not as good as we were last year. But the reality is we also had a game with Shallowater where they hung 43 on us. And so having bad games isn't out of the realm. But then I started thinking back to seasons previous, because this isn't the first time that we've had a season start this way where we faced two really, really good teams. And I don't want to discount how good West Plains and Canadian were. But obviously there's still one we talk about Monday morning overreactions. We think, man, the sky's falling, all those things. But let me take you back to 2017. One of the goals that we always have every time a high school season starts off is that we want to play December football. It's where you really get to hang your hat. It's the goal when you start the season. Obviously, every team wants to end up at Cowboy Stadium. And only one team truly can say at the end of the season that their season, they accomplished their goals. Doesn't mean that everyone else doesn't have a great season, but knowing that our goal is to play December football, I went back to 2017, the last time we played December football here in Bushland. We actually faced Seminole December 1st, and then we faced a very tough Graham team that next week, and our season ended there. But you talk about a heck of a football season. But you go back to the beginning of that season, and you will find that we faced Canadian and Caprock. And in those two games, we gave up 99 combined points. So this isn't uncharted territory. This isn't somewhere that we haven't been before. And I'll tell you, I think after you hear Coach Reynolds talk, and I did not realize that the screen wasn't on. Sorry. Thank you for texting me and telling me that our screen was black. But I think after you hear Coach Reynolds talk, you're going to come away with the same feeling I have, that this ship's headed in the right direction. We know that there are some holes to plug, but there are a lot of things that we did in Canadian on Friday night after spotting them 35 points that you have to be really excited about. And the first is just the battle, the grit, the fight within our young men to continue to battle, because it's really easy to look at a scoreboard against a team as talented as Canadian, see 35-0 and to quit and roll over and say, okay, we'll just do this again next week. But that wasn't the case. And as I mentioned before, we got to 10 points, made it a 10-point game in the fourth quarter with an opportunity that if we could have got one more stop, that game may end a different way. But so whether which side you're on, no matter if you're on the overreacting side of, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, you're on the side of, this is a state caliber team. I'm going to tell you, I believe it still is a state caliber team. And as you listen to our interview with Coach Reynolds, I think that you'll walk away from that as well. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Then we'll have our pre-recorded interview with Coach Reynolds that we did after, so that he could spend this evening with his family. And then we'll come back and we'll get our local legend player of the game sitting in the hot seat, Max Rodriguez. So we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The Bushland Falcons are a symbol of excellence in all athletics, so when the Falcons take the field, there is no room for error. Vanessa McDonald with Lyons Realty feels the same way about her job. As a real estate professional with over 20 years of experience, Vanessa knows there's no room for error when it comes to your real estate goals. Vanessa's real estate experience, combined with a forward-thinking company behind her, makes for a winning team for her clients. Give Vanessa a call for a free home analysis at 806-336-7885. AA&A Windshield and Glass is a proud sponsor of the Bushland Falcons. We are your one-stop shop, and we'll get it done right. We are a family-owned and operated business for over 35 years, and we specialize in windshield replacement installation and rock chip repair. We offer scheduled appointments in our shop, or we'll come to you with our mobile service. Call us today at 806-353-9119 or fill out our contact form at aawindshieldglass.com to get started. See clearly with AA&A Windshield and Glass.
No one said living here was simple. They just said it was worth it. This land wasn't easy to settle. More than 30 years in business will teach you that. Her elements are fierce and forceful. Amarillo can take anything thrown her way. Your body shop should too. Loki's Body Shop, built for Amarillo.
All right, welcome to week 2 of the Bushland Falcon Media Coaches Show here with Coach Reynolds. And, you know, Coach, obviously Friday night, man, a little rough around the edges, but that's why we play these early season games, isn't it?
It is. You know, you don't want to lose. You don't want to have to learn from losing. You know, you want to be able to show up and still win football games and turn on the film the next day and learn from your mistakes, but still find a way to win as you're growing this part of the season. But, yeah, I mean, we knew we were playing a great team. I mean, we know what they're about, and they're ranked number 1 or 2 in their division for a reason. And, you know, we know what their program's about. We feel like we are too. You know, it was kind of felt like it was exact same game, just flipped it from last year, and we
Absolutely.
played those guys. You know, I felt like last year we created a lot of momentum with plays, making plays early, and they kind of caught them off guard, and we got a big lead and just never they were able to come back. This year's the opposite. You know, they came out ready to go, you know, and they did, you know, moved it down the field, scored some touchdowns. We didn't do anything much with the ball offensively, and just kind of this, you know, flip. You know, they had all the momentum early, and you know, we just didn't make the plays early. I think that's where momentum comes from, is making plays. You do things on the field, you get excited, you know, you're ready to go, and we just didn't do it. So, you know, we, you know, challenged the kids at halftime, you know, kind of like 2 years ago. It's like, look, that wasn't very pretty, that wasn't very good. We didn't show much fight, you know, in the second half. I thought our kids came out, you know, ready to fight, and I was really proud of the fact that we, you know, cut it back down to 10. I think it got to 38-28. You know, cut it to 10, and we had enough time at that point to get it done. You know, we just didn't make the plays the last quarter and a half to give ourselves a chance to win. But we'll learn from it, and, you know, better be ready this week, because Childress is a good team as well.
Yeah, Childress coming in 2-0, and we'll get to them in a second, but it felt like a tale of two halves. It felt like we saw a different Bushland team. What did you see in the second half that really you can build on heading forward?
Well, I think just our focus and our intensity, you got to have that all the time. You know, I think you see that across the board at any level, really. But, you know, you're coaching 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You know, sometimes that can happen. You see it in college football. I saw it in multiple games in college football. You'll probably see it in the NFL too. But great teams don't let that happen. You know, great teams, even if you have a bad night, kind of night off, you still find a way to win. So what I take from the game, you know, especially the second half, is we just got to play like that. We got to remember what that felt like. You know, remember what we did to create that momentum in the second half, to create that spark, and we have to build off that and know, hey, this is how we have to play for 4 quarters. You know, and as a team, I think that's where we just need to grow with this team. We like to say, well, this is a growing, maturing process with every team. You know, and with this year's team, we got to learn from this, and hopefully understand that we have to play 4 quarters like we did that second half last Friday.
You know, we've given up 96 points in the first 2 weeks, which obviously is more than through 9 of our 10 games we gave up last year. And so how much of that is defensive struggles, and how much of that is just we've played 2 really good offenses?
Well, I think we want to win the football game. Whether that's 3-0, if that's 47-41, whatever that is, we want to win the football game. And every game's a little different. You don't know how it's going to play out. Sometimes you get in a defensive game where it's going to be low scoring. You got to just grind and find a way to win. Other times you get in a shootout and both offenses are really good. And to answer your question, I think we have seen that. I think we've seen 2 really good offenses in West Plains and Canadian, and have a lot of weapons and to do a lot of things really well. At the same time, we're not going to make excuses for that, because our expectation is we should be playing that well on both sides of the ball. And, you know, it's just one of those things that we can't make excuses. We can't worry about our opponent. We got to worry about fixing us and just being better at what we do, and kind of being the aggressors. You know, that's what we talked about a lot as coaches this weekend. We can't play on our heels. We have to be the ones initiating, you know, the physicality, the tempo, the aggressiveness, and hopefully that's what we do Friday.
I know you like to talk about the mantra of fast, fun, and physical. And at times we've seen that this season, and then at times it just hasn't quite been there. I know in the years past, we've kind of hung our hat on that high-pressure, physical, in the backfield defense. Has this defense just not found its identity yet, or what? Maybe building towards something?
Well, I think we're building towards something for sure. I mean, like you said, we played 2 good offenses for sure, and we'll see another one with some weapons this week too. You know, but the main thing is, you know, I thought week 1 against West Plains we were physical. Yeah. I thought we played hard. Thought we made a lot of plays, but what you worry about playing them is they have some great athletes. You worry about the big plays. I thought we did a lot of great things defensively against West Plains. We gave up some big plays, and that's what you want. You want to eliminate the big plays and make somebody drive down the field and execute a 10, 12, 14 play drive and beat you and put points on the board. And I think that's the biggest thing where we're at right now. We did some good things this past Friday. Second half, they scored 3 points, I believe. Well, no, I mean, 3 points, we got it to 38. It was 35-14, and we got it to 38-28, and we were playing great. And then we gave up a couple more big plays for them to get to 55. So I think that's the biggest thing right now, to answer your question, is eliminating big plays. We're still doing some great things. We got to get lined up right, and we got to eliminate the big play and say, hey, you're going to drive it down the field. If you can do that drive after drive after drive, tip your cap. So the flip side of that on offense, we're looking, we love the big play on offense. If we can score 1 or 2 plays, great. It's about putting points on the board. But we need to be able to execute sustained drives, move it down the field. I did think we did that offensively a few times Friday night. We did hit a couple of big plays, but a couple of those touchdown drives, I felt like we executed and moved the ball down the field.
We talk a lot about just the program and just through the years, the things we've seen. And an interesting stat that we've been here before. I look back, it took me looking back through our seasons, but in 2017 was actually the last time we gave up 90-plus points back-to-back weeks. And ironically, one of those was to Canadian. But that's also the last season that we played December football. That team kind of rallied together, and it got better week after week. And by the time we got to district, man, that team was rolling, got the big win over Seminole in the playoffs. Do you see some similarities to that team and just the growth from week to week because that felt like a different team week 8, 9, 10 with Colton Moore and that group than it was in week 1 and 2. Do you expect the same kind of progression here?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know what our coaches are about on both sides of the ball. I know what we're about, and it's about maturity and growth and getting better. And, we talked about it and they said, look, nobody cares really. They do right now, but when it's all said and done, they're not going to remember what you do a whole lot early in the season. You're remembered for what you do in district and the playoffs. That's what people remember, and that's what we have to keep searching for, is just that growth, because we want to win the district championship. And we want to win it all playing at Cowboy Stadium week 16. I know for a fact there was at least a couple of teams playing at Cowboy Stadium last year, and I was there watching. I know one that we played that played for the state championship started off at least 0-4. I know.
Yeah, they did.
So it's about collecting yourself and knowing the big picture. I'm here to win every Friday night. That's my expectation. Is we're here to win. I promise you. Okay. But more importantly, it's about where we're going. And you can't just say that. You got to make strides. You got to identify your weaknesses. And I think that's in any job, any profession, anything you do. You can't just hang your hat on what you do good, because everybody's going to have some faults. You got to identify what you're not good at and be willing to address those things as coaches, as players. That's how you get better.
Speaking of getting better and just putting in work, here we are on Labor Day, a day that a lot of people take off. And we're sitting here in the barn, and you can probably see it in the background, just kids in here putting in extra work. What is it, what does it mean as a coach to be able to see these kids after practice still in here going?
Yeah. Well, I think our kids, and I think that's a credit to our program for a long time, is that's the expectation. For them and for us, this isn't extra. This is part of the norm. You know what I mean? It's Labor. I had a coach in high school, Woody Martin, and he always told us it's Labor Day, so we're going to labor. And that's just part of it.
It is.
In any sport, in high school sports, if you got the days off that everybody else has off, the Labor Days and different things like that, that's just part of it. If you're in extracurriculars, you're in sports, you're a coach, you're not getting those days off probably. Christmas break, your basketball coaches, wrestling coaches, everybody else is off doing things and skiing, and they're practicing, they're going to win, Christmas tournaments, stuff like that. So that's just part of the norm, the expectation. We know that, but we're proud of our kids. We're proud of the work that our kids put in and what they've bought in, to this program. And we want those younger kids to look up to those older kids and understand what, how to work and how to lead and do those things. And Coach Dreyer does a great job with our strength and conditioning program, and our kids are 100% bought into him, in the strength and the speed. You say strength and conditioning, we like to refer to as strength and speed more, because that's what We want to be the fastest team out there. So Coach Dreyer does a great job in our strength and speed program.
What an impact he's had since he's been here.
He's
Even
been
having
great.
one of my own, I mean, the 25 pounds he's put on between last year and this year, I'm just like, holy cow.
He does
And
a great job.
He
Very
is.
knowledgeable.
So, obviously, we're going to turn our eyes towards Childress because Canadians in the rearview mirror now. But before we do, how impressive was Canadian? I mean, I watched them, and, they're coming off of – we don't like to talk about our opponents a lot, but Canadians we're talking about. Not only have they built an amazing program, but Cameron Cavalier, Preston Newmeyer, Luke Flowers,
Yeah.
they were special. And I think that sometimes people look at the outcome and they think that that's a state championship caliber team that we faced last Friday night, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you always want to – you got to respect all your opponents. For sure, Canadian, you're going to go in respecting them because you know what their history is about. You turn on the film immediately, and you just see them just execute. And they have those athletes. Obviously, Cavaliers, he's a great thrower, but he's a great runner too. He's a competitor. And I think he had 17 carries or something like that against us. And, Flowers, healthy, then putting him in the slot, and just getting him in space. He's fast. He's tough, tough to deal with. And then, Preston, I think he hurt his ankle, but, he was a couple of times he made some great catches. We had great coverage on him. They threw the ball downfield, and they just executed a great throw and catch. And like I said, sometimes you tip your cap. But, yeah, I mean, they're a great team. If it stays healthy, they got a chance to win it all for sure. And we knew that coming in. What we saw them against Seminole, Oklahoma, and it was 49-0 at halftime, and they're just on point. I think they really wanted to get the ball out of his hands quick, after kind of what we did to him last year. We got a lot of pressure on him. Thought they did a good job of just, getting him out, throwing it out, sprint outs, bootlegs, and just getting rid of the ball quick, and they were spot on. And, if that's what I would rather make somebody beat us throwing the ball than run it. Now, they had their share of rushing yards too, and that's something that, we're addressing. But, you want to try to take away at least one of the two. But that's what makes them tough, and any offense tough when you face them is when they can execute both the run game and the pass game. It's tough to defend. You got to kind of pick your poison a little bit, and just kind of, minimize the big plays. And, we weren't able to do that, but they're a very good offense for sure.
They were quite impressive. So now we turn to their district rival in Childress, 2-0, coming off of a big win against Breckenridge. What do you look to start early with? I mean, is it defense going to set the tone, or do we want to go out and score quick?
I don't care what it is. We need to come out with some aggressiveness and intensity. That's what we've talked about and addressed. To create that energy, I'm a believer that, I shouldn't have to go in the locker room before every game and give some big Rock Newton-y speech and yell and scream and do a bunch of stuff. I'll get us going, but it's about execution on the field, and it's about being us. And when we're us, we're fast and aggressive on offense, and we're fast and aggressive on defense. That's what we got to do. We weren't that on either side of the ball Friday night against Canadian. That's the biggest thing we're trying to address right now is we don't want to let the other team dictate how we play. I kind of felt like that was the case Friday night. I felt like their offense dictated the pace of the game. Their defense dictated how we were playing offense. We tried to come out and play fast, but we didn't execute. And when you're playing fast on offense and you're not moving the chains, all of a sudden you're throwing your defense right back out.
Yeah, they
there.
lived on the field that first quarter.
So you gotta, offensively, you have to move the chains. And I think getting that first down is so important for us, especially. We get the chains moved the first time, your percentage, your chances of scoring points go up dramatically. We get that first one, we can crank our tempo up now. We're assuming we get the ball on average, let's say the 30, 25, 30-yard line, and we get that first down. Now we're at the, 35, 40. We're in four-down territory almost for us if we get the right numbers. But we just have to be better at being us to start the game, and that's what we're focused on.
Going on the road again, 2 hour, these bus trips. How much of the road trip is it a learning experience? That was our first real long road trip of the season. Of especially when you have a lot of young guys, because we replaced 21 seniors
Right.
last year. How much of that is a learning process of how to get off the bus after a 2-hour drive and then get ready for 7 o'clock?
Yeah, I think that is, if everything you do, if you allow it, is a part of the learning process. That's learning how to go through the day on a home game, and how to mentally prepare yourself. And that time you have for the end of school at 3:40 till you have to be back in the locker room at 4:15, what you do in that 30-minute window. Are you preparing yourself?
Those are the most 30 nervous minutes as a coach, isn't it?
It is, and that's we talk about it and what you need to do and how to get yourself prepared. Same thing on a road trip. Expectation was, hey, we get on the bus, we don't have to sit in silence for 2 hours. I know when I was a kid, when you got on the bus, it was complete silence. It didn't matter if you're going 30 minutes or 2.5 hours. It was complete silence. I want to treat our kids, with some maturity and say, hey, you can talk on the bus. If we're out there, but if we're laughing and we're telling jokes and I can hear you at the front of the bus, I don't think we're probably focused too much on the game. That wasn't the case. I thought that part of it was good. Most kids are going to sleep or listen to music or be on their phones or something, and I think we handled that well. I think we handled just pregame and everything. When it came down to it, though, I think we just, we stepped on the field. Ultimately, it's at 7 o'clock. We just weren't aggressive. And I'd like, to answer your question, yeah, it's all about learning right now. And I think we have to talk about that as coaches. All right, here's what we did. When we stepped on the field at 7, we weren't ready to go. Why is that? We talk about it with the kids and make sure we fix that.
And not to go back to Canadian, but we saw some guys step up and make some plays. Obviously, Rhett Real goes down. How big was it seeing a young guy like Jace Fisk step in and really, he kind of solidified those snaps, because after Rhett went down, they got a little crazy for a minute. And then Jace comes in. How big and nice, I don't want to say nice, but how – I guess nice is the right. How nice of it as a coach is it to find those young guys that are ready to go in and fill some of those holes when they need to?
Well, I think as a coach, that's what you have to know that those guys are ready, because things are going to happen. And football's a physical sport, it's a contact sport. Whether somebody gets tired, whether somebody gets nicked up, or they get injured, whatever it is, those things are going to happen. And that's why when you go out and practice, you don't just practice your starters and that's it. Now we're going to probably, for the most part, at this point of the season, we're repping too deep, because of those things like that. So we know whether it's Jace or Ty or whoever. We made several different adjustments. Charlie there for a while. He slid in and played right guard when Ty went to center, and Ken and Melvin played right tackle. And, it's nice to be able to do those things because our kids are pretty intelligent. And you just got to be able to trust them and go. That's why you coach them too. They don't just stand in the back and the whole time. And not get any reps. You got to have your 1s and 2s ready, and even your third guys. And that's sometimes the hard part of selling those guys on. You got to remember, you didn't play game 1 or 2, but game 3, all it takes is one weird thing to happen, and you're a snap away from having to go in and play a ton of snaps. And I think Jace did a great job.
He did. Anybody else really stand out from Friday night that you thought, man, we're starting to really see them come into their own?
Offensively, I thought Max Rodriguez had a great game. He had some big numbers. He had the 71-yard touchdown catch where he caught the drag route across the middle, broke the tackle. We know he's fast. He ran on that sprint relay that, went to state. He was an alternate down there. We know Max has it, and his ball skills, just in the time that we've been practicing since 2-a-days, his ball skills have gotten a lot better. He's always had good ball skills, but now he's really good. That was a tough catch. That was a tight window. DJ had to throw it in. It was great coverage, and to catch the ball with somebody on your back in traffic and then break the tackle and take it to the house. He had
smart running, because he gave Cade time to get that block that sealed that edge. Because if Max uses his speed, he runs into that tackle.
Yeah,
and just a real heads up.
And Cade, that's what receivers got to understand. A lot of times, we're not asking receivers to pancake guys, especially in space. You pancake somebody in space, you're probably getting a holding call just because it looks awkward out there. Yeah. When you pancake somebody way out there, and that's what Kate just got in the guy's way, got in the fight. And that's what we ask our receivers to do. Position yourself well, get in the fight, And that's what Cade did, and it was just enough to allow Max to get down the field and score. Speaking of Cade, he's another kid that played. I thought he played extremely hard. I thought he was one of the guys that early on, I think he kept us in the game because I felt like Cade Gavinia was fighting the whole time. You know, we were kind of struggling there, and DJ just started going to him.
He did.
You know, we started calling some plays, and DJ was going to him because Cade was in the fight. And I think his fight sparked us to our first touchdown, to our second touchdown. Obviously, he scores one later in the second half, but I think he gave us a chance to get some points on the board because of his fight on offense, because at that point on offense, you know, we weren't executing very well. I didn't think we were fighting very hard, but Cade was. And, you know, he made some great plays for us for sure.
You know what's impressed me so much about Cade is Cade knows where the sticks is on third down every time. He's going to get past it, 2 yards past, and if he's coming back, he's going to make sure he catches the ball and gets down with the first down. He did it multiple times against West Plains and multiple times against Canadian. And talk about a kid that just, God, in everything he does. I think he struck out, twice all season in baseball. Cade is just an incredible talent.
Well, it tells you he's a competitor. You know?
He's going to battle.
We saw it Friday night, and like you said, to strike out 2 times in one season. If you ever played baseball before, no matter how good you are, you're probably going to strike out some. But to be a guy that's not a big strikeout guy, you got to be a competitor. You got to be in the. He probably got some 2-strike situations last year. And when you get 2 strikes, you got to battle, you got to fight, you got to choke up, put it in play, and be a little mentally tough. And like I said, he carried that over Friday night for us, and that's what we're looking for. 11 guys on the field playing like that, fighting to do everything they can. Offense, defense, you got good stuff going on there.
Well, Coach, we look forward to bouncing back on Friday night. We'll have the game live from Childress. We'll be live about 6:30. But before I let you go, we're sitting here. Obviously, we're in the barn. This barn's been here for quite a while, but you got some new facilities right on the other side of these doors that obviously the voters in the bond last year approved. How nice has it been to be able to be a little bit closer, a little bit, you know, we actually have some therapy rooms. It's not quite done, but it's getting there. How nice is this and been for the program to be able to have this space for our student athletes?
It's definitely an upgrade for sure. You know, just, you know, if you haven't been in our locker room and our facilities where we were in the high school, you know, for several years now, we've been past full. We're having a double. Every single locker in all 3 locker rooms for several years now have been full with kids doubled up. You know, we didn't have any locker space. You know, and I think our kids deserve that. And, you know, like I said, thankful for the voters for, you know, passing that bond, which allowed, you know, this, you know, facility, the new high school, the elementary, everything, all the renovations, everything. You know, we have room to grow now in this facility with our locker rooms. That's what it's about, is the kids. You know, we have a coach's office in there, you know, and the training room in here, an equipment room, you know, and then we'll have, at some point, we'll get the media room finished where we can sit in there and watch film and have a nice area to watch film, to have meetings. And that's all sports. You know, that's anybody can go in there, any sports, and watch film, and be plenty of room. And actually sit in there together without sitting on a floor in a locker room. We can actually sit in there and watch film. Any team can go in there and have their team meetings and talks, and it'd be a great place for that. And like I said, the locker rooms just allow us. It's closer to the fields, the football field, to the track, closer to the baseball, softball. It's going to be closer to the new high school. So that's just a great, we're excited about it. Like I said, we're not fully in. The kids are in, and that's the main thing, and they're able to use the facility. We're still trying to get everything else together, but very thankful to have it.
It's an awesome upgrade. If y'all haven't driven around our campuses lately and seen, as Coach Reynolds mentioned, the brand new elementary, the new high school that's going up, obviously we get a good view of it on Friday nights because from the press box you see it all, but it's cool to see us growing and investing in our students. And so just want to take a moment to thank the voters that did vote yes for that and passed it, because we know that's a sacrifice. Just like our young people out here making a sacrifice on Labor Day, and our coaches, that investment back in is just going to continue to grow our program. So, Coach, any final thoughts before we cut out for this week?
No, just, you know, look, we love our kids. That's the thing about us. Tell them all the time, but even after a loss, man, we love our kids. I promise you, this coaching staff, and it's not just on the boys, on the girls' side too. We have great staff. We have coaches that love their kids, that want to push them to be the best, to want to teach them, you know, the life lessons and hold them accountable. So just excited about this year and everything. You know, all the boys' sports, the girls' sports, fall, winter, spring. Just really excited about what's going on with our kids and our coaches.
Well, Coach, thanks for taking time on Labor Day. We appreciate it. And we'll be back in just a minute with our local legend player of the game, Max Rodriguez.
Hope Choice is a faith-based, pro-life organization that assists women facing an unplanned pregnancy by providing free pregnancy tests, sonograms, educational classes, and baby supplies. Hope Choice is also helping young people and parents by taking a stand against society's influences that are threatening today's families. By offering free mentoring programs to young people ages 8 to 18, retreats, and character building presentations for students in the schools, Hope Choice is changing culture one heart at a time. Learn more about the mentoring programs, events, how to volunteer, or become a financial partner by visiting hopechoice.com. That's hopechoice.com.
The Bushland Falcons are a symbol of excellence in all athletics. So when the Falcons take the football field, there is no room for error. Vanessa McDonald with Lions Realty feels the same way about her job. As a real estate professional with almost 20 years of experience, Vanessa knows there's no room for error when it comes to your real estate goals. Fortunately, Vanessa's real estate experience, understanding of clients' needs, forward-thinking company behind her, and her love for the Bushland community all combine to form a winning team for her clients. So give Vanessa a call today for a free market analysis on your home at 806-336-7885. Once again, that's 806-336-7885. And as always, go Falcons.
All right, welcome back to the Bushland Falcon Media Coaches Show. A huge thanks to Coach Reynolds again, taking the time on Labor Day to sit down and visit with us. And now sitting down with us is our local legend player of the game, Max Rodriguez. Max, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
Did you enjoy a little bit of a day off after practice?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you get you a nap?
No.
Bring it. Yeah. So Friday night, great game. Obviously, you play both ways. What do you like a little bit better, defense, offense?
Probably right now, offense. Getting the ball, trying to score.
Now, one of your big plays was a 70-yard connection from DJ to you. Kind of walk me through that play a little bit because there's a lot going on it, and kind of walk me through it. I'll let you tell me what all was going on.
Well, when the play was called, usually it goes to like one of the outside receivers mostly. So, and then I run my route. It's like 10-yard dig, run it out, and then run it out, and I see Luke Flowers come in. As soon as DJ comes and throws it, I was like, oh, man. And it went straight through his hands. And I look at Cade and all them, they just stopped. And as soon as I caught it, then Cade blocking for me to get that touchdown and stuff like that, and that's when I scored.
You know, one of the things that y'all kind of hang your hats on as a unit is, man, y'all like to block as much as you like to catch passes, don't you?
Yes, sir.
The physical side is fun. And then, man, what a catch. Getting into the end zone there on that second touchdown, that was the thing of beauty. Now, when you play, do you get a little more amped up for a game like Canadian? Because you know just what you're going against?
Oh, yeah. It's a rivalry, especially last week. You knew it was going to be a special atmosphere because we beat them last 2 years in a row. So you figured they're going to come out, try to whoop our tails. So if we don't come out, then,
Oh, speaking of Cade Gavin, there's Cade peeking in the window out there. We are here live at Mitch's here in Bushland. If you ever want to come down for the Coaches Show, we're here every Monday from 7 to 8. Grab you some good Texas barbecue while you're here and talk some Texas high school football. Now, Max, I'm gonna give you 3 or 4 questions here just so we can get to know you. One of the things that they told us after last week is that it was cool to get to see some of the athletes, but they'd love to get to know a little better. So What's Max's favorite movie?
Probably The Sandlot. I'm a big baseball guy.
You are a big baseball guy. Favorite candy?
Either probably have to be Nerd Clusters or Sweetest Fish.
Nerd Clusters are a hit in our house, too. Ryder Grace, it's funny. That's her dugout snack during softball games. She carries them in her bag, and between every inning, she's got a handful. So when you're not playing ball, whether it's football, baseball, even running track, you were on that state qualifying 4x4 team last year. Where will we find Max? What are some of your favorite hobbies?
Either hang out with family, girlfriend, but mostly hang out with my family, cheering on my sister, with her sports and softball and cheering them on, or God, having the time with God, spending time with Him and His presence. I wouldn't be here without Him. So,
Man, you couldn't answer that one any better. So I'm gonna get you in the doghouse with one of your two girls. Softball or volleyball? Which one do you prefer watching?
softball.
There you go.
Probably it's more amped. This is like baseball.
It's funny, like you don't think of softball as being, but I would almost argue, as somebody that coaches softball and has a daughter that's the same age as Madison that plays softball, softball is almost more fun sometimes than baseball. It's faster, it's quicker, And I know you're a baseball guy, but softball is a pretty fun game to watch.
It is, especially if it's really close. All those cheers and all the fans with the small field and stuff like that. It's energetic.
You think we'll ever see dugout cheers in baseball?
No. No. That's a softball thing for sure.
I can't see Coach Espy allowing y'all to do dugout cheers, but maybe I'm wrong. So final one, if you could choose one song to play every time you walk in the room, what would you choose?
It's tough.
What's your entrance song for Max Rodriguez?
Mine would probably have to be the Believer by Imagine Dragons. That's always stuck with me.
I
Since
like
I was little.
I like it. Well, Max, fantastic job Friday night. 2 touchdowns, obviously. Let me ask you one more. What's it like getting to play with a quarterback like Dawson Jaco?
It's awesome. He's a great leader for sure. And just his leadership and his vocal, he's gotten a lot more vocal than last year for sure. And he's just been an amazing role model for sure. And just guiding you. If you don't know the play or, you're struggling a little bit, he's going to go over there and pick you up. And he's just that type of guy just to pick you up, be a leader, and help you out on that field so both of y'all shine and the rest of the team do.
Man, y'all have a chemistry as well as Cade and Tanner. Strat.
Sure.
It's amazing to watch, and just we know that. Man, it's only week 2. You're just scratching the surface of where you're going to go. So, Max, thanks for taking time to join us today. Max Rodriguez, our local legend, player of the game. We'll get a quick break, and then we'll get in here with Chris's big close, is I think what we're going to call this. Is Chris Welch joins us here. We'll be right back.
Thank you for having me.
Danny Richburg of Edward Jones is a proud sponsor of the Bushland Falcons, our school, and our community. As a financial advisor, he wants to know what is important to you. Not everyone has the same goals, aspirations, and plans for the future, and that's okay. Whether you're focusing on retirement, a loved one's education, your lasting legacy, or a trip around the world, he would like to help. If you're serious about your investments and understand that it takes a plan, but you don't have a plan, you need to visit with Danny. Whether that's across the desk, at your kitchen table, or on the phone, he's available for his clients. So give Sarah a call at his branch office at 806-352-2980, 806-352-2980, and set up a time to meet with Danny. New Vision Exterior Solutions is a proud sponsor of our Bushland Falcons. At New Vision Exterior Solutions, they take pride in and are committed to their work. With an increasing number of successful projects under their belt, they can proudly say they are one of the most trusted seamless gutter installation companies in Amarillo, performing both residential and light commercial work. New Vision Exterior Solutions can handle all of your gutter needs, including removal and installation, hail damage, wind damage, and leak guards. New Vision can also stain new and old fences and make those old fences look new. So give Brock Hall a call at 806-517-0533 and let New Vision Exterior Solutions provide a free estimate.
Whether you need a building to grow your business or you simply need more space for a backyard workshop, look no further than Tightwire Construction. Kurt and his team will get you the most out of your metal building and take pride in exceeding your needs with great customer service. To talk about your next project, give Kurt a call at 806-683-6842 or visit tightwireconstruction.com. And as always, go Falcons. All right, welcome back to the Coach Show. Got my partner Chris Welch back. Chris, before I give you the floor for your big close, I want to give you two stats. You know, I said at the beginning, it's kind of fitting that we do this on Monday because Mondays are kind of that overreaction day for football.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it's Tech fans have been overreacting for 2 days about the Wyoming game.
Are there any Tech fans left?
Oh, man, no. Man, we still love y'all. But it's funny because you have a Longhorn and an Aggie referencing that. But there'll be plenty of people talking about the Longhorn game next Monday. But, you know, same thing NFL. Mondays are kind of our overreaction day. And so I gave two stats at the beginning. The first is, obviously, we've given up 96 points in 2 games. Last year in the regular season of the games that Coach Mayfield coached, we only gave up 86. So if you're in the sky's falling category, then there's you a stat that kind of can go with it. But before you run too far that way, you go back, and you've been doing this a while, and actually you had sons on this team, so you're going to remember this well. If you go back to the last time we played December football, which was 2017, same Canadian team that we just lost to, that season put up, 50-some-odd points on us. We played Caprock the next week. I think it was 52 and 47. Combined, they put up 99 points in those 2 weeks. And obviously, you remember that team because it was so talented. And early on, it hadn't quite clicked. But as that season went, we went 2 rounds deep in December football that year. And so, you having done this a while, where are you at kind of with what you're seeing, and not just in what you're seeing in the results, but just in the progression, because it felt like that second half was a completely different game than the first half.
Yeah, I think what you have to look at is every year's different, right? And so I hate when they compare one team to another team, or one opponent to another opponent. The opponents are different. Same name, different team. You know, West Plains is a much improved team from a talent perspective. We knew they were going to be talented. We saw them last year. We said they just haven't gelled. They gelled later in the year, and they had a great year. I mean, for our first year.
Oh, absolutely. A couple rounds deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're going to do great this year. You know, I think they're picked to win their district. They should. They'll go 1 or 2, 3 rounds. We'll see. But all that to say, it's not the same team, right? And the same thing we'll say about Canadian. Canadian came out. When we talked about it, they looked like they were in midseason form already. And so I don't get too worried about that, right? Because you say they're different opponents than what they had. You know, they didn't get a whole new defense put in. We got a new defense put in, right? We've got new receivers this year. Canadian didn't necessarily have new receivers, right? So it's not the same. You know, it's apples and oranges the way I kind of look at it. So I always view the preseason as it's the tune-up. If we're going to make mistakes, now's the time to do it. Rankings don't mean anything. They don't mean anything at any point in time during the season for us, right? So it all is going to come down to how do we perform in district and how do we continue to mature. So week by week, what we saw this week, I think we saw some better route running than maybe we've seen that we saw in the first week. So for me, it's not that much of a panic. Right, 2017 was a great year.
We're getting right back with you here. We lost an internet signal there for a second, but we're back, getting our cameras back reconnected. Man, you got to love technology. Technology is amazing until it does not work right. And then it makes you want to, I tell Jamie all the time, it's the reason I have gray hair. But there we go. We are back. And thanks, Chris.
Yep.
I'm glad you were here when that happened. But who were some people that maybe stood out to you on Friday night that really, especially in that second half?
You know, DJ, obviously from a leadership perspective, not really panicking, right? And I think that's a second-year starter for you at quarterback. That's someone who's been in some tight games, who was part of the game last year with Canadian, right? And who said, hey, it's okay. Let's just play, right? Let's just continue to make plays. When you have that kind of senior leadership at that spot, that changes how the team reacts, right? When your leader is calm, when he still has confidence in the team, when he still goes back and maybe a play that didn't work in the first half and says, I'm going to make this play work in the second half, when he stays in the pocket and takes hits like he did, or when he makes a good run to kind of get the team going, which he did a couple times for first downs, that continues to drive the team and keep the team going. So I think he did. And I'll say the other one that kind of came out in the second half a little bit more, I think was Charlie Pitt. And I'll say that because Charlie got held quite a bit and was getting boxed in, double teamed.
Triple teamed. I watched that
Triple
game
teamed.
back, and it amazed me how many times both guards pinched down on Charlie.
Yeah, for sure. And then you got the center sitting there, right? So when you have that situation, and yet he still came up and had some big tackles for loss, right? And so maybe we didn't call his name as much, but when you have to take 2 to 3 guys out of an offensive scheme in order to block one, that's an impact. We may not get to call his name as much, but the impact he makes just because he's there and his presence is there, that's huge because now it allows somebody else free to make some plays. And you saw that. You saw some ability for us to blitz in some gaps because there was no blocker there because they were too busy worried about him. And Ethan the same way. They're both kind of in that same boat. But I'll say those are the unsung guys that you don't get to see very often. And I'll say who came in for center?
Jace Fisk, man.
So I want to give Fisk a big shout out because he comes off he moves over basically and comes in and has to go to center due to an injury. And I tell you, that's when you have to go in cold and snap. That's not an easy. And I've had 2 centers, boys who have played centers. One who played it full time. The other just said he never could snap, so coach wouldn't put him in there, but he could. But that's hard. And as a quarterback, that's hard because those snaps are different, right? The cadence of the snap is coming back either at a different pitch, it's coming back a little bit quicker, maybe it's a little bit lower, maybe it's a spiral, maybe it's a duck. It doesn't matter. The quarterback gets used to handling from his center.
Yeah.
No matter what. And I remember when Jared was a senior and they go out there for the senior snap or for the last snap with all the seniors. They said all the seniors on the field. And they said, who you want to snap? And he turns around and he goes, Aaron's the only one that can snap, right? And so Aaron, as a junior, goes out there with him. But all that to say, that's a tough spot to step into in a very difficult game, right? This isn't like we're blowing somebody away, right? We're behind, and we've got to make a major comeback. And so not only does he have to worry about snapping and getting that down with DJ, he's got to worry about blocking and calling the blocks too. So those are the 2 or 3 that I'd say really stood out that maybe we don't call as much,
absolutely,
but have such a big impact.
And those centers, Turner Johnson will tell you don't get a lot of credit in there. And nobody says your name until something goes wrong. And so Jace did, and obviously hoping Rhett gets back soon. It's nice having a senior there, but it's also nice knowing that if you lose your senior for even a couple snaps, you've got a guy that can step in there. As you said, Cole, because he wasn't even on the field at the time, so it wasn't like he was already in the groove. He literally came in and, man, didn't miss a beat. And so great job by Jace. So heading to Childress, what are you looking for this week from Childress?
Childress is an interesting. I was looking over a little bit of their Dave Campbell stuff. I know the coach is in his second year. Coach Helm, I think, right?
Yeah,
yep.
Bo.
Yeah, Bo Helm. So he's in his second year. Childress, you can never count Childress out. They're one of those teams that, they beat Canadian.
Absolutely. They won that district 2 years ago.
Yeah. And so, but, I look at it, they've had two wins so far. They're coming in 2-0 as well. Yep. Abernathy was a close one. I mean, that was a touchdown difference between the two. They won that 14-7. And then Breckenridge, 24-21. Sounds like a slugfest. I hadn't seen any film on it. But what's interesting about Breckenridge is Breckenridge was darn good last year.
They were. Start of the year 7-0, ranked top 10, and they returned a lot.
Yeah. I think they lost their quarterback, right?
They did. He's
but I look at Childress, and that's one of those – that's a gotcha game if you're not careful because they do have a lot of talent, and they compete with Canadian year in, year out. I mean, they got to play them every year. That's got.
They probably watched last week and thought, "Oh, do we really have to do that again this year?"
Yeah. So, I think, I think we win this game. I do. I think we've got more talent on the field. We've got more depth, and I think that's for us. That's an advantage when you're one level up. Your team's a little bigger. You have a little more depth. We saw a lot of players the last 2 weeks have gotten to rotate in and play that wouldn't have played otherwise, right? Had some injuries and whatnot. But I do think that Childress is one of those that you got to watch out because I think they can sneak on you pretty quick. But I do feel confident that this will be our bounce back game. I know if I'm an opponent to Bushland, I never want to catch
You don't
them
want
on
to
the
catch them
backside.
after that.
It's
no.
the same thing with Canadian.
Yeah.
We talked last year about I don't want to be the next one after we beat
Absolutely.
Canadian last week, right? And it was a crazy game for them. But again, I wouldn't want to be that next team because this team, Bushland's had this reputation for quite a while. They're feisty. Yeah. And they will battle back, and I don't have any doubt whatsoever. I've been doing this too long. I've seen every Bushland team do it. When something like this happens, to them, it's just a fire that gets lit at that point.
You know, we even talked about it on the way home. The two people we didn't want to be. We didn't want to be the JV because they got to go against varsity all week in practice, and I've got one of those in my house. And the other is I didn't want to be Childress because all that frustration is going to come out. And if there's anybody that knows how to not only right the ship because he's been here a while and done it before, but really begin to focus that energy to 7 o'clock on Friday, like Coach Reynolds likes to talk about. And, you know, Mayfield always said, you boil it up and you build it up till 7 o'clock's the crescendo of all that. I guarantee you will not see a flat Bushland team at 7 o'clock when we kick off on Friday night.
No, I don't think so at all. And it's tough. I wish we were back home for this. That's the one thing, back-to-back road games is not necessarily the easiest, but it's not an excuse either, right?
And not the shortest road trips this year either.
I tell you, that's why I let Steven drive. But, back-to-back road games are always tough. That's why you like to alternate those. But we definitely have back-to-back this week.
And one final thought here before we wrap up. Man, watching that game back, what a difference in just broadcast that we were able to do from week 1 to week 2. And I know it makes the tech guy nervous. You reached out on Wednesday. We're like, hey, I think we're going to scrap what we've been doing and do this. And I think it'll be – we talked about it on Tuesday, and then Wednesday this stuff came in. But and obviously, we couldn't do that without amazing sponsors and that allow us to be able to invest in technology. Talk a little bit about just maybe what to expect going forward, because obviously we're going to refine that a little bit more. But from the tech guy that maybe can put it into better words, I would just like, man, that it would just look way better. What does that look like from a broadcast side?
Yeah, I'll say a few things. This platform gave us replay back. Hey, I'm so excited because I hated losing replay. And I think some things you'll see is slow-mo replay. We'll be able to do that this week. That's something I'm playing with right now, and so you'll get to see some slow-motion replay. And I think that's really slick that we'll be able to show that. So that's one thing. Hopefully multiple cameras, and so that's the next thing we'd like to work on is being able to have a wireless camera possibly on the field. If I can find somebody, if you're interested in running a camera, come let us know. But that is something we'd love to do, is have something that's a little more mobile. With this platform, we can actually probably pull that off. So that's something that we'd like to see going forward. Hopefully we'll get our picture-in-picture back. We've had some of that over the years where we were able to keep the game behind us so that you could still see our sponsors and what they bring to the table. So hear that commercial while still seeing the game that's going on and the activities that go on. So you still feel like you're there, but make sure we give our sponsors their time on there as well. Because seriously, we were able to do it because of our sponsorship. End of story. I mean, we couldn't have done it any other way. It's not like we didn't know about this platform. I had actually looked at this platform 6 months ago, 8 months ago. Actually, before last year, I actually looked at it, but just didn't feel like switching at that point in time. This gives us some of that capability to do a lot more potentially. I mean, I could go on and on, but I think the main thing is hopefully get more cameras. We have that ability to give you some more coverage. I went back and looked too. It's so clear. That's the clearest broadcast we've ever had before. And I'll say this: that's the first time we've ever broadcast from the bleachers at a game. And I've had so many people come up and say that was pretty cool.
It was.
Now, it took us carrying half the kitchen with us to get that pulled off. But back at Stevens Suburban was completely loaded. I mean, we had the baseball pull cart with us. I mean, it was the whole 9 yards to pull that off. But we did pull it off. And what you don't know is behind the scenes, I'm sweating the fourth quarter because I looked down on our new little device. And we're
It's at
sitting
9%.
at like 9%, and our charger's not keeping up with it. And I'm just going, oh, my gosh, we're going to lose the broadcast. And it holds at 9. I think it goes down to 8, but it pretty well holds the rest of that time. So, you know, we were blessed to be able to hold on to that broadcast. So
We were.
growing pains a little bit, but that was great, right? And I think technology is going to enable us to do more on that platform. But again, we thank our sponsors.
Absolutely.
We would not have been able to pull that off without our great sponsors behind us.
And it was so cool, especially as when we cut it to 10 in the fourth quarter to be in, because we've been in Canadian when we started to come back, and we didn't get to feel the energy because we're on the home side.
They wouldn't have been able to hear us last year had we been in the stands during that game.
No doubt.
Or two
years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
But there were moments that you really couldn't. Like when I watched it back, I was like, man, the fans almost drowned us out. But that was such a cool environment. And
I had some people tell that they didn't really even notice that much of a difference, that they really could still hear us pretty well too.
Yeah.
So, Britt Conklin actually was just telling me how much they enjoyed watching the game and being in the stands and seeing people walk by and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
that
was fun.
It was a cool atmosphere. We're not sure what Childress will look like yet. You know, we were talking. We see so many stadiums. Even when you've been somewhere before, you forget really what does it look like. So we'll probably take the full kitchen sink again, just in case. But what a fun atmosphere, and obviously thankful to just our coaches and our program that allow us to continue to do it as well. Because as much as the sponsors allow us the technology, they allow us the access to be able to get to do really cool things and talk to players like Max Rodriguez, our local legend player of the game, so that y'all can get to know them better, you know, and I hope that as the season continues, you continue to do that. So one final thought before we cut out.
Just thanks for all the fans that watch us, right? And I really enjoy watching the comments and the thoughts that come back. And so thanks to you for getting this set up for Monday nights. I think this was a great idea, and Mitch's Barbecue for hosting us.
Absolutely.
Just changes the venue completely a little bit for us.
It does. So, all right. Well, we will see y'all live from Childress. If you can't make the game, tune in. We'll go live about 6:30 for our Contractors Wholesale pregame show. And then we'll obviously have kickoff at 7. But if you can make the trip, make the trip. Childress will be a packed house on their side. And I'm always amazed. Even Friday night in Canadian, man, it was packed. And we travel so well. And so always proud of the black and gold and the way we turn out.
You can always watch us later.
Oh, absolutely. Except for last week. There were some audio technicals, so we pulled it down. But we'll have that fixed this week. So